UFC 311. Here to break it down for you. I've kind of only picked the fights that I'm interested in. I'm on my second energy drink, and I've eaten 10 strips of bacon. So I'm fucking ready to go. I hope you are, because I'm ready to get down to the nitty gritty of the fights. Right. So the first fight of the night, I actually think this one's really interesting. Clayton Carpenter, what a name, first of all, versus Tagir Ulanbekov. Now, I was watching Clayton's fights, and he's got solid boxing. He seems a bit short for the weight class, but he's well built. He's got a quite nice head movement. He's there to be hit, but then he's also sort of on this thing where he's constantly, fighters are just constantly sort of moving around. And he does look for the sort of slip right hand. And really nice timing on his takedowns. Seems to have good jiu-jitsu, good fundamental pressure. Comes out of MMA Lab. So he's fighting with Sean O'Malley. I think I'm right. It's a good cap. It's a good cap. And I think it's tough. Like this for me, this whole fight card is the night of the Dagestanis. You've got Georgia on one side of the mountain and then Dagestan on the other, with Merab and Umar. And then you've got Islam in the main event, Ulanbekov on the first fight of the night. And it's so hard to pick against the Dagestanis. Like watching Ulanbekov, he seems to have really good fight IQ. He adapts to the opponent in front of him and he makes good adjustments, which is something that you want to see from a fighter. You can come into a fight and be successful in the first round, but if your opponent adapts to your strategy and you then can't counter-adapt, you're screwed. You're going to lose the fight. So I think the key question here is Ulanbekov going to be able to take down Carpenter and hold him down, or is Carpenter going to shoot? Because for me, I'm like, I don't know if the game plan for Carpenter is going to be to keep it on the feet and not go to the ground with Ulanbekov, but I don't know. From Ulanbekov, like decent straight punches. He actually got caught quite a bit in the fight that I watched. So I'm leaning towards the underdog. Like for the rest of the card, I'm picking Dagestanis. But just for this fight, I just feel like maybe they've got it wrong, and I could see Carpenter like doing well in the grappling enough that he lands the more meaningful strikes on the feet. However, there's a massive chance that I'm wrong, and Ulanbekov just bloody like pops him with a 1-2, hurts him, and then Carpenter shoots, and he just gets wrapped up in a guillotine in an absolute instant. So there's that. There is that. Who knows? I'm going Carpenter. I'm going 29-28, close decision. Oh, so Grant Dawson versus Carlos Diego Ferreira. This is a cool fight. This is like your classic Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu fighter versus your strong wrestler. And throughout history, it's always favored the wrestler. I mean, even when submissions were good and people were hitting triangles, the majority of the time, the wrestler was dominating on top. So for me, looking at this fight, just to break it down stylistically, you kind of have to go with Grant Dawson. But then, also the age. 9 years difference. So Carlos Diego Ferreira is 39 years old. Like Dawson, yeah, okay. He got chinned by Bobby Green. And maybe he's a bit chinny. Maybe it was a lucky shot. We don't really know. But for me, the perseverance that I've seen from Grant Dawson is just tremendous. It really is. He is like a dog on a bone. He's relentless going for that takedown. And I think the willingness of Diego Ferreira to accept bottom position could be his undoing. However, watching Diego Ferreira in his last fight when he fought Mateusz Rebecki, I mean, they were calling him Rombetsky in the fight, but it's spelled Rebecki. I mean, maybe I'm tripping. I don't know. But I thought it was a bit weird. But Rebecki took him down, and Ferreira did an amazing job of getting back to his feet. Because we know that Ferreira is a really, really high-level jiu-jitsu fighter. So high level. Like when we say wrestler versus BJJ, normally it's like, oh, a good wrestler versus a black belt. This guy's got like 4 degrees in black belts. Like, bro's got a PhD in jiu-jitsu and he's really, really good. And he's striking, not amazing, but he does punch well in combination and he's got a good chip. Even at 39, he took some big shots off Rebecca in that first round and then came back and pieced him up. And for me, I was really impressed with that. But then when you look at the losses of Ferreira, Gillespie, Gamrot, good wrestlers, kind of just makes me worry. So I think Ferreira is going to struggle to submit Grant Dawson, but I don't know if he's going to be able to get up or not. I think that's the biggest question. If Ferreira can consistently get up, he should be able to win the round striking. I just don't think he's going to be able to. I think Dawson is just going to be on him constantly. He'll start the fight, throw some punches. As soon as Ferreira starts throwing back, I think Dawson is on those legs, and I think he does take him down and beat him by decision. I'm going 29-28, Grant Dawson. So now we've got the rising prospect, the guy everybody wants to see. He gets a 17-second knockout and then takes 7 months off for who knows what reason. Maybe he's just trying to work on his skills. Fair enough. Fair enough, mate. That's all right. But we've got Peyton Talbot versus Raoni Barcelos. I think Talbot's like quite a hype prospect because he's sort of this new generation of MMA fighter. Like, he's come in, he's one of those guys who, sort of like Sean O'Malley, who trained MMA from the beginning, from the get-go. He's this like instinctive fighter who doesn't mind taking a shot to give one, and he's fast, he hits hard, and he's accurate. It's hard to explain, but he's almost got this serpent-like just ability to just like to just go, and he just, like, the way he fired that 1-2 in his last fight, it was just gorgeous. It was just beautiful. And I think when you're looking at Barcelos, he's kind of that older generation of MMA fighter, almost Aldo-esque in his style, but sort of like budget. He's not as good as Aldo. Like nice combos. He'll sort of fake the left hook, come in with a quick uppercut. So he's definitely got the power and the experience to give Talbot some issues. But for me, I can't, like, Talbot is just, I feel like he's going to do really good things. And I think he will lose, but not right now. I think he's got a few more fights in him. He's fighting a difficult opponent, but I don't think Barcelos is going to be able to get the better of him. I think if it does come down to exchanging, I'm leaning Talbot. So I'm going to go Peyton Talbot, and I'm going to go by a 3rd round TKO. Jiri Prochazka versus Jamahal Hill. I don't know if anyone saw Jamahal Hill on Twitter. The guy was like, humble Alex Pereira, bro. It was like, humble these nuts. Oh, honestly, that actually killed me. It just shows you that, like, Jamahal Hill might actually be an absolute idiot. The way that he responded to that, like, he's obviously just not read what the guy said, or he's misunderstood it. But it's just so funny because he just keeps going on it, and then finally at the end, obviously so many people must have seen it and replied to it that he's actually realized where he's gone wrong. I think Jamahal Hill, after getting KO'd by Pereira, is just one of the most disliked fighters in the UFC at the moment. I think this is a hard fight to predict just because of how unpredictable Jiri is when he fights. I was thinking, would Jiri come into this fight with a different game plan after being knocked out basically 3 times by Alex Pereira, once in the first fight and then twice in the second fight. Like, he got knocked out at the end of the round and then head kicked at the start of the second, which was insane. But if you look at the fight with Rakic, after the first knockout, Jiri fought, if anything, more recklessly than we've seen him before. So he's probably going to fight the same. But I actually think that should give him an advantage, because what you see from Jiri and Hill is they're both chin in the air, arms low. Like they're not protecting their chin. They're not bobbing and weaving. I think that Hill obviously will hit Jiri. Um, and I think Yuri has this thing where he just decides to turn it on, and then all of a sudden he lands really heavy shots. But when he's striking, he just lands these really weird, like, up punches. And it's just like, I'm going to knock anyone out like that. But then versus like Dominic Reyes, he'll just do that for a round and then randomly throw the most devastating spinning elbow at your head. So that's why it's just so hard to predict. But if we're looking at the fight, Yuri has been consistently unpredictably successful. So I would go on the consistency of that. And I think Yuri is going to have more of an ability to take a shot than Hill is. So even if Jamal Hill has some success in the first round, I think Yuri comes back and he probably knocks him out in the second. So I'm going to go with Yuri Prochazka by second round knockout. Umar Nurmagomedov versus Merab Dvalishvili. Now, I actually got the Merab fight against O'Malley so wrong. I was so wrong. I really underestimated Merab. I underestimated Ray Longo and the camp. And you know what? Fair play. Like, Merab put on a clinic against O'Malley, fought the perfect game plan. So I can't count him out. And I really considered how Merab wins this fight and if it's even possible. And I still don't think he's going to win. But I want him to win. I want my brain to like show me something where Merab wins this fight. And like you think, oh, cardio. No, Umar's amazingly conditioned. Striking. Umar seems after that Corey Sandhagen fight, like the striking from Umar looks so clean. The kicks, the outside kicking range is going to be so dangerous for Merab. And then even Umar, fuck it out. Umar just has a really nice ability. As soon as you come in and try and throw, he's just there like, boom, ready to get back at you. It's really nice. I really like it, actually. It's almost like it's not the most technically clean, but it's effective. And like, he's kind of a weird comparison, but it's like Dricus Duplessis or like Islam Makhachev. No, sorry, not Islam, like Khabib. It's they land, but they do it in a sort of weird way, but it works. And if it works, that's all that really matters. If you're landing strikes, you're landing strikes. It doesn't matter if it's super efficient. I think this fight will be more competitive than people are giving it. I wouldn't say Umar should be such a big favorite. I was really surprised when I saw the odds of Umar versus Merab, but then it's just the Dagestani fighters that they've created an era. This is the last few years have been representative of a new era of MMA. And you know, for me personally, I think what it really comes down to is two things. It's the psychology and the training. The psychology of the Dagestani fighters is just superior to that of the Americans. It's the relentless pursuit of hard work, the disciplined approach. That's the psychology. Like, it's the respect that they have for each other. And I think that translates into the training, because I think the American and British classic style is, you know, you come in 2 hours a day and you like smash your training, you break your body down and you push yourself as hard as you can, and you have really like live competitive training sessions. Whereas the Russians have a different approach. And from my experience, at least, with the Russian approach, is it's all about flow state and repetitions. And it's almost like they train like the Thais. Like, we're spending 6 to 8 hours, 10 hours training, but we're not pushing our bodies to the point of red line. I don't know if, so there's a really interesting bit of research when it comes to optimizing learning. If your competition is too difficult, you're under anxiety and you're forced to use the best techniques that you have that you're most used to using. If you're way better than your opponent, and you're smashing them, then you're bored and there's no resilience. So you're not able to learn, because there's no resistance. So we want this kind of optimal flow where it's not too difficult that it produces anxiety, but it's not so easy that it makes you bored. So there's this optimized flow of learning. I think the Russians have perfected this with the training that they're doing. It's not to say that they don't train hard. They definitely do, but it's optimizing their training so that they're in flow state and they're really downloading the data. So whenever they step into the cage, they're 10, 15 steps ahead of you because they've just put in more and more and more reps. So I think that sort of, for me, is what a few of the underlying reasons why the Russians are doing so well in MMA. It's why they've done so well in the Olympics, so well just in sports, boxing. It's just that's just my opinion. I could be wrong, but yeah, yeah. So going with Umar. I think he wins the decision. I think it's gonna be a tough fight. I'd love to see Merab win. I mean, I actually, after the Sean O'Malley fight, I am a Merab Dvalishvili fan. I hope he wins, but I'm gonna pick Umar by decision. So Islam Makhachev versus Arman Tsarukyan. I know this is the biggest fight on the card, but I just think it's pretty clear cut. I think the boxing of Makhachev is going to be too much. The wrestling of Tsarukyan is not going to be a factor. It's not. He's not going to be able to keep down Islam. I don't think he's going to try and take him down. Honestly, I think Tsarukyan, unless he can just land something crazy and knock out Makhachev, which is possible, I don't think he wins. I mean, where does he have success? I think Makhachev is a better kicker, a better boxer, a better wrestler. He's got better cardio. He's got better fight IQ. Where does Tsarukyan win this fight? I don't see it. So I'm going with Islam Makhachev, and I'm going to go by a 4th round TKO. I think he just overwhelms Arman on the feet, out wrestles him, tires him out, and then just overwhelms him and head kicks him in the 4th. So that's my breakdown.